I want to just continue our discussion on how to share our faith in a post-Christian nation. We've been talking about 5 steps, and we're on step number 5. So as we finish this out, we've talked about walking in the Spirit. We've talked about loving people well. We've talked about building solid relationships that are built on love, right? And then we've also talked about living by example. And so now I want to use this last one to just learn to share your faith. And why I say that is because as I started this thing off, we were talking about all different kind of tactics, sometimes bait and switch, where, we want to sell people stuff, right? Let me give you 5 reasons why you should come to Jesus, and, or the ABCs or the 12 steps, or, we have all these kinds of things, right? Instead of just sharing your faith. I remember when we used to go door to door on Thursday nights, right? We would just literally walk up to a door, knock on the door, and I would start off the conversation with, hey, my name is Bill Sizemore. I'm the pastor over at such and such church. And I just want to ask you a question. If you were to die today, do you know whether you would spend eternity with God in heaven, or would you spend an eternity without God in hell? There's a couple of assumptions that I make right off the bat when I ask that question. Number 1, there is an assumption that there is a God. Number 2, there's an assumption that there's a heaven and a hell. Number 3, there is an assumption of an eternity that is after life, right? And so, as I said before, a lot of times these things were presuppositions that everybody had. But the truth of the matter is, if I were to ask that question today, somebody might say, well, your whole question is moot because there is no God, there is no heaven or hell, and there is no eternity, right? Because that's kind of where people are living. So what does it mean for us to share our faith in a post-Christian nation? I think the way that a person shares their faith today is the love relationship that you have with the Lord. So one of the things that I know about my relationship and that I want other people to have is that God is with me, that God walks with me, He talks with me. He walks with me through the things of life. We are together. It's not a one-way street where I just, serve a dumb God who can't speak back or doesn't act on my behalf, or, things like that. No, we serve a living God. We serve a gracious God. We serve a God who speaks, who acts on our behalf. We serve the Creator God. And when you begin to share the relationship that you have with God, with others, just from the fact that God is involved in your life, and you begin to express this love relationship, I think that is the thing that's appealing to people. Let me tell you why I think it's appealing. Because God created man specifically to express His love to them, because God is love. And then He also created man in such a way, or humanity, so that we could express love back to God. So I want you to think about this. The whole reason why a person was created was to receive love and to give love. And so when you come into a relationship with another person and you begin to reveal the fact that, man, God loves me, God expresses His love toward me, and therefore I, in return, express my love back to Him, and we have a loving relationship one to another, I believe that draws in the soul, and it draws in the soul from the very place it was created, which is from God Himself, back to the Father. This is one of the ways that I believe we can really share our faith. Just make sure that you're expressing that love, that you're expressing the relationship that you have with God. And I think it's going to be very, very powerful. So as you begin to walk in the Spirit, you learn to love people well. You find yourself building solid relationships. You're not a hypocrite. You are vulnerable. You're living by example. And then you find yourself just sharing this relationship, this love relationship that you have with God. I think you're going to be surprised at how many people start to question and say, how do I have what you have? And you'll find yourself sharing your faith in a post-Christian nation. Hope this has helped.